And a very good morning, afternoon, depending on what time zone you happen to be in. We replayed the opening that we had when we were in Charlotte. We are now coming to you live from Denver, Colorado on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. I guarantee you by Monday we'll have our new opening put together and we'll make that little change. Anyway, you're coming to you live, like I said. We're coming from Denver, Colorado, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're also on Spotify and Spreaker, on most of the major podcasts in Google as well. And of course, we're on Blackjack Television as well. And of course, out in the Colorado area on milehighradio.com. So that's the story as to how you can hear us. We're here every Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time live. But also, just to let you know, give you an idea, that on Saturdays and Sundays, that we're coming up to the first weekend here coming up, we are on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Well, today is Friday. It's the end of the weekend. And of course, we kind of refer to it as Fade Away Friday. In other words, fade away from the favorites, try to stay on with the underdogs if possible. So we're going to talk about two baseball games, get a closer look at them, give you an idea as to how the line movement is going, and how the pros are going on them as well. We have two games on tap for you today: Atlanta against Philadelphia, and the Angels up against the Twins. So those are the two games we're going to take a close look at. Like I said, line movement, and also that'll tell us which direction the pros are going. We're also going to be talking about the winning and losing streaks and the swagger theory. We'll be talking about that because there are two teams that kind of fall into that category. We're going to see how they go and tell you about them. So if you're looking to bet any winning and losing streaks as to whether they're coming to an end or not, we'll tell you about that as well. And of course, we can't forget about the NFL, not far away. So we're going to take a little look at a couple of futures bets, kind of give you some thoughts and ideas on some of those before they get started. We'll be talking about that as well. But as usual, if you've listened to the show before, you know one of the first things we do is we tell you what happened yesterday as far as betting is concerned in the sports world. Only one big sporting event going on right now, and of course that's Major League Baseball. And the favorites yesterday went 7-2, with the only upsets by the Giants, who are up plus 170 on the money line against the Dodgers. And you know, San Francisco took this series 3-1. And of course, the Angels also had a plus 111 on the money line, beat the Twins as well. So as of yesterday, the favorites now lead 58.4% on the percentages. Now keep in mind, 58%, that's even over the 52.3% that we generally talk about. But in baseball, you don't even have to be as high as 52% in order to make a profit, because it is a money line sport. Therefore, whenever you're betting an underdog, of course, you're having some plus money coming your way. So the unders went 6-2-1 yesterday. Again, you had a push on that Giants-Dodgers games in some places at 8. But the overs, well, they still have that slim lead, and they lead now at 50.8%, almost at 51% in that category. So that's kind of, let's give you an idea as to what happened yesterday, kind of help you with your stats if you're interested in that direction, but also some information that came out, and that's that Massachusetts is now going to join the party, because right after that 2018 Supreme Court decision, and in that decision they overturned that federal ban on sports betting, we've seen 30 states legalize across the country. And yesterday, like I said, Massachusetts they took a big step toward joining the party as well. Now, after spending 6 hours debating 28 amendments, show you what detail goes into some of this stuff. Everybody wants a piece of the action, in other words. So they debated this topic for almost 6 hours. They came up with 28 amendments. The Massachusetts House of Representatives finally approved the bill to legalize sports betting by an overwhelming vote, 156-3. Wow, such a big spread. 28 amendments, 6 hours of haggling about it. The House bill is going to allow wagering on sports, fantasy, esports, and horse racing for anybody over the age of 21. You have to be older than 21 or older, okay? Now, the bettors, as far as betting is concerned, won't be able to place wagers using a credit card. That will not be allowed. Betting on college sports is going to be allowed, but betting on college player props is not. So keep in mind, if you live in Massachusetts, you'll be able to bet on college sports, but not on the player props as well. It also allow untethered mobile wagering as well, which means that you don't have to sign up in person at a casino in order to create that account, to open it up so you can start betting. The bill's expected to bring in roughly $60 million in tax revenue every year. Plus, in addition to that, they'll get about $70 million in licensing fees, because DraftKings and all these different outfits, they have to pay a licensing fee that allows them to do business. So it's been a long time coming from Massachusetts for all you residents who live out there, which is without a doubt one of the wealthiest and probably, I would say, one of the most educated states in the country. And it's home to really some rabid sports fans, especially if you go up into Boston and you go up into that area. Now, for years, Massachusetts has seen their neighboring states, like New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and they just recently passed, along with Connecticut. New York also went legal. So finally, the days of going across the state lines in order to place a bet may finally be coming to an end. But after passing the House in that big resounding fashion, the bill now has to go to the Senate for more debate, more amendments, and once it does finally get approved, it then advances to the governor, Charlie Baker, and from we all understand, he will sign the bill once it comes out. Now, the early estimates are that if everything kind of goes well, and of course, you know what that means whenever the government is involved in anything, legal betting could actually start in Massachusetts in time for the Super Bowl. And if not the Super Bowl, they'll definitely be ready by March Madness in 2022. But again, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll let you know what happens. So that's the story. One more state coming into the fold. And what does that mean? It means a lot, especially if you're a contrarian bettor. Here at the station, at the Sports Wagering Zone, we are contrarian bettors. We generally bet against the public. Now, keep in mind, as you get millions of more people coming into the fold, the general public really, they kind of fit into a category. They love to bet favorites. They love to bet home teams. They love to bet overs as opposed to unders. They bet big name players on teams. Those are the things they're looking for. They're looking for high scores, things of that nature. And it's not anything new. It's something that's been that way for many, many years. The sports books all know this, and they adjust all their numbers to take that into consideration. And still, in spite of all of that, the sports books throughout the years have always been ahead. So that's the story there. We'll keep you up to date. Hopefully it'll all come true. We'll have more people in the fold. It's going to be better for us guys that are contrarian bettors. It's just going to make our prices better. Someday in the near future, I'll go into more detail about explaining how that works. It's very, very simple. when you have a lot of favorites coming in, the numbers go up. Instead of being a 7-point favorite, now that football game is an 8-point favorite. So what does that mean? If you're a contrarian, before you had 7 points, now if you're on the underdog, you've got 8 points. So basically, that's what's going to be happening. Anyway, that's the story. Let's get that first break out of the way. And like we always say, we play 3 breaks within the show, each one is of about 1 minute duration. Not a long time. We just take a quick sip of water and get ready to come right back into action. So we'll be back into the sports wagering zone. We're going to look at those 2 games that are on tap for tonight. You got Atlanta against Philadelphia and the Angels against the Twins. So we'll be back in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo, coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network right here in Denver, Colorado. Also on most of your major podcast platforms just as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts. You can get us just about anywhere. So now let's take a look at 2 games on tap for today. Atlanta Braves against the Phillies, the Angels against the Twins. Take a look at the line movement in these games and kind of give you an idea in which direction the pros are betting on them as well. So around 7 o'clock, you got the Braves against the Phillies. The Braves are 47-48. The Phillies are 47-48. Now, the Braves, they took last night's series opener 7-2, where they were minus 140 road favorites. And, of course, that was one of the games that was selected yesterday by the pros. We told you about that yesterday. Now, both teams now have real identical records. They sit 4 games back behind the first place Mets. And in tonight's rematch, Atlanta comes back with Max Fried. He's 7-5 for the season with a 4.29 ERA. Philadelphia comes back with their right-handed ace, Zach Wheeler. He's 7-5 with a 2.44 ERA. So now as we take a look at the line in this game, now understand both these teams, they're in the dogfight to get and catch up to the Mets in the East. So as we look at the line, it opened with Philadelphia, a minus 130 home favorite as an opener. The Braves opened up as a plus 120 road dog. Now, the pros in this game, they seem to like the pitching advantage that they have with Philadelphia. So what they did was they put their money in, steamed up the Phillies from minus 130 up to minus 140 on the money line. Now, remember, home favorites are at a little over 60% so far this season. Philadelphia has also value in this game because they're a favorite with a low total. The total for this game is 7.5 runs. So there's a low total. It favors the favorite. And remember, like I said, historically, low totals benefit favorites because there's a fewer amount of runs that are expected to be scored. And if that's going to be the case, it's likely going to come from the favorite, or what we call the better team. The Phillies are 27-18 at home this season. Atlanta is 21-23 on the road. Meanwhile, at 8 o'clock, The Los Angeles Angels, 47-48, take on the Minnesota Twins, who are 41-56. Now, the Angels stole last night's opener 3-2. They won. They were plus 105 on the money line as road dogs. Now, in tonight's game, Los Angeles comes out with their veteran right-hander, Alex Cobb. He's 7-3. 3.96 ERA. Minnesota comes back with their veteran left-hander, J.A. Happ. He's 5-5 with a 6.15 ERA. So as we look at the line for this game, it opened as a pick'em. Really, it was on both sides. Both sides were at minus 105 on the money line. Now, the pro money, however, since then has hammered the Angels, steaming Los Angeles up from minus 105 all the way up to minus 120 on the money line. Now, keep one thing in mind. Non-division favorites with a steam, a movement of 10 cents or more have gone 62.5% so far this season. Short favorites, minus 150 or less, which this team comes under, and they come off of a win. They're at almost 59%. So those are the factors that come into play with betting on the Angels. Now, one X factor here, Minnesota just traded away their top hitter last night. Nelson Cruz was traded to the Rays, so he won't be in uniform today. Los Angeles is going to lean on their bats in this one. The Angels are hitting .258. They're fourth in the major leagues as far as total averages are concerned. The Twins, well, they're hitting at .244, which is not too bad, which is 11th place. But of course, now they're going to be without Nelson Cruz, so that number will probably come up a little higher as we go throughout the season. So the game between the Angels and the Twins, the pros definitely on the Los Angeles Angels in that game. And the first game we talked about, the Braves against the Phillies, the pros in that particular game, they're on the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, we just want to recap yesterday's results. We had 3 plays we talked about yesterday. Texas, the Rangers against the Tigers. We had the Braves against the Phils, Oakland against Seattle, and in all 3 situations, we had winners in all 3 games. Not that we had them, but we let you know about who the pros were on. All right. We don't take any credit for that. We're just giving you the information. Okay. We had the Tigers, we had the Braves, and we had Oakland. Now, in that Texas Tigers game, we talked about winning and losing streaks. Texas was on an 8-game losing streak, and they lost, so now they're on a 9-game losing streak. Meanwhile, the Tigers, who were on a 6-game winning streak, are now on a 7-game winning streak. So, and we talked about this yesterday, told you that as far as we are concerned here at the Sports Wagering Zone, 6 wins or 6 losses is a streak as far as we're concerned. Now, it's important for you to determine what you want it to be. You may want it to be 8, or you may want it to be 10, or whatever. Whatever it is you want it to be, you have to be consistent with what it is. We're using 6. We kind of, through all our data that we go through, we kind of feel 6 is a good enough number, kind of puts it right in the middle there, not going one way or another. And so for these 2 reasons, these 2 teams are in our category. Texas, I said, now is on a 9-game losing streak. The Tigers are on a 7-game winning streak. So again, you check the games that they're playing, and you can bet how you wish on that situation. So that's the whole story there. And as far as this week is concerned, just to give you an idea how things change, okay? When we first talked about coming back on Monday, we had 3 plays, all 3 were losers. Then the next day we had 3 plays, 2 winners, 1 loser. Yesterday we had 3 plays and we had 3 winners. So it kind of give you an idea. We're trying to get into that 60% area, which is where the pros generally are, somewhere between 58 and 60%. You can't just take one day. You can't take 1 week or 1 month or even one season under consideration. You have to look over a long period of time as to what that percentage is, because then you're much more closer to the truth in that direction. So let's take that break, and when we come back, we're going to take a quick look at the NFL, have some ideas on a couple of bets that you might want to start making as far as the futures are concerned. And we'll be back again, like we say, in 1 minute into the sports wagering zone, because that's the way we do it. 1 minute at a time. Take a little sip of water. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back. You're in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Glad to have you on board. In case you want to get a hold of us, it's not very difficult. Just simply send an email. Send it to the sports wagering zone at gmail.com. That's the sports wagering zone at gmail.com. So we talked about baseball. We talked about the 2 games on tap for tonight. But you know what? We're about 2 weeks away from the Steelers and the Cowboys that are going to be playing in the Hall of Fame game on August the 5th. So we got to start thinking, because we got this little short gap now. It's important that we kind of step back a little bit. Yeah, kind of clear your mind up a little bit. Get away from that daily grind for a minute or two and get ready to start talking about football. The football season, you want to reacclimate yourself. You want to look at some depth charts, check some schedules. Start doing it, because before you know it, it's here. In the meantime, let's take a look and see some of the odds on some of the things that are our future bets that are coming up. These odds come from BetMGM and from DraftKings, just to give you an idea. We're talking about a quarterback MVP. We're thinking of Justin Herbert. He's 20-1. And here's why we like Justin Herbert to win the MVP award. And at 20-1, that's a great number. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, they both won the MVP in their sophomore seasons. Carson Wentz, he was ready to win it also before he tore up his ACL back in 2017. So it kind of looks like a good gauge. Herbert has a record-breaking rookie season, though somehow he wasn't even the Chargers' Week 1 starter, and in spite of that, he still broke some records. Now, admittedly, I'll admit it, even the most ardent Herbert supporter would tell you that he's not even the best quarterback in the AFC West. But keep this in mind. Voter fatigue is real. Guys don't win back-to-back Heismans. Jackson won it in 2016. He had the stats that were very similar to those in 2017, but he never even came close to getting the award. LeBron James, he hasn't won an MVP award since 2013. Just think about that. Mike Trout, he's been in the major leagues for 10 years. He's won the MVP award just 3 times in that 10-year period. Because, voters, they like stories as much as they love stats. And they often look for some new blood when they're dishing out that MVP award. The Chargers are good candidates to make a real big leap forward this year. They've been plagued by a lot of close losses in the past couple of years. Okay. Brandon Staley, who is rising in the coaching world, takes over as the Chargers look to reverse some of those late game problems that they've been having. Now, a winning season, a playoff berth, there's a good possibility that's going to happen for the Chargers this year. And if it does, and if Herbert improves on his outstanding season that he had last year, he's definitely going to be in the mix to be the long shot if he can lead the Chargers in the postseason. So that's why looking at the MVP award, if you're looking for a possible bet as a futures bet, take a look at Herbert. For those reasons we just gave you, I think he's going to be a very good bet. One other one, we're talking about the Eagles from Philadelphia. And being a huge Giant fan, I hate the Eagles, trust me. Although I do hate the Cowboys much more, but I'm not very happy about the Eagles either. I can tolerate Washington. Now, the Eagles, we're looking at their number of total wins is 7. So we kind of think here it's going to be under 7. Now, I'm not sure I'd like the Eagles to even go over that 7 mark, even with a favorable schedule. But you know what? The schedules really didn't do so good for them this season. Their first 2 games, look at it this way, they're playing the Falcons and they're playing the 49ers. And they're going to be underdogs in both those games. The number's already out. Then they go and play the Cowboys on September 27th. That starts a vicious 4 games in 17 days, in which they also play the Panthers and they host both Super Bowl participants from last year. They're going to play the Chiefs and the Bucks, all in less than 3 weeks. I'll tell you, good luck to them. Although I really don't wish it that way, but it's just an expression. The first third of the season really sets the tone for a team, believe it or not. A mediocre team, well, they can overachieve if it starts fast off of a soft schedule, and then they start getting confidence, so they start doing better. But on the other side, a team can get buried by a bad start like this, and they can begin real early, and they're just saying, that's it. This season's over. Let's start looking for next season. I think a 1-5 start is very much in play here for Philadelphia. And that grueling stretch in October, that's going to put the Eagles in a real big hole. Another high draft pick, I think, is going to be heading towards Philadelphia back in 2022. So if you're looking for a possible bet as a futures bet on an over-under as far as win totals are concerned, kind of take a look at the Eagles. Take a close look at that schedule that they have in the first couple of weeks of the season, and you'll get a good idea as to why we kind of feel in that direction. So let's take our final break. And when we do come back, we're going to go back again over the 2 games, Atlanta against Philadelphia and the Angels against the Twins. We're going to talk about that right after this very important message. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. We're coming to you live from the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, also podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms as well, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many, many more. And we're also on Blackjack Television on the East Coast and also on milehighradio.com. Very easy to get a hold of. And just a reminder, we're here every day, Monday through Friday, at 12 noon Eastern Time live. On Saturdays and Sundays, coming tomorrow, of course, we're on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time live. But of course, if you can't listen to us live, you can listen to one of the podcasts anytime later on in the day. So there are two baseball games that we've been talking about for tonight as far as line movement is concerned and in which direction the pros are going. The first game we talked about were the Atlanta Braves against the Philadelphia Phillies. And in that game, the pros are definitely on the Philadelphia Phillies. The prime reason is that they kind of like the pitching difference. Teams are very close. They're 47-48. They have exactly the same record. They're 4 games behind the Mets. They're in the charge to try to catch up to the Mets to win that National League East. But because Zach Wheeler's pitching for Philadelphia, he's a little better than Max Fried. So therefore, they're going towards the Philadelphia Phillies. The game started out as a pick 'em, but with all the money that was coming in on the Phillies, it kind of moved on up to minus 140 on the money line, and the total is at 7.5 in that game. And like we said, historically speaking, low totals usually are a good thing for the favorite. And in this situation, it is the Philadelphia Phillies. The late game is Los Angeles, the Angels, up against the Minnesota Twins. And in that particular game, the pros are on the Los Angeles Angels against the Twins. One of the main reasons for that is because the Twins traded Nelson Cruz to the Rays. Okay. The Angels are the number 4 team in the league as far as batting is concerned. So therefore, those type of statistics come into play. The pros are on the Angels in that game. So that's the story there. And now going in for totally for this week, just to give you an idea as to how this little method system, whatever you want to call it, is going on. We had 9 plays so far this week. We had 5 winners, 4 losers for a 55.5% average, a win percentage. So that's the story as far as that's concerned. If you're interested in winning and losing streaks, keep in mind that Texas is on a 9-game losing streak. The Tigers on a plus or 7-game winning streak. So you want to take a look at those 2 teams, get an idea about that. And again, as far as over here at the show, at the Sports Wagering Zone, we kind of look at 6 as being a number that we use, that we've determined that anything over or under 6 is what we call a streak. If you lost 6 games in a row, you're on a streak. If you won 6 games in a row, you're on a streak. So we just told you about the 2, the Tigers and the Texas Rangers. Rangers 9 on the losing side, Tigers 7 on the winning side. So if you want to bet those type of situations, take a closer look. That's the story that's going on there. So that's the story. Thank you very much for listening. It's the end of the week. It's Friday. I hope you have a very pleasant Friday. And if you're not listening to us on the weekend, I certainly hope you have a nice weekend as well. And if you're going to do any kind of betting, whether it's today or this weekend, I hope you have a profitable weekend. Hope you have a profitable day as well. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, right here from Denver, Colorado. Saturdays and Sundays, like tomorrow, we're on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So we'll be prepared for that show then. So once again, thanks for listening. Have a very pleasant Friday. Have a very pleasant weekend that's coming up. Whatever you have planned, whatever you're doing. And again, if you're going to be doing any betting, I certainly hope you have a profitable Friday or a profitable weekend as well. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as most of your major podcast platforms. So until tomorrow at 11 o'clock, have a great day, everybody, and talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.